Jim Henson created a dynasty with Henson Studios. His creations are not only famously known, but also famously loved. The Muppets, Sesame Street, Fraggle Rock, and so many more are icons to this very day. However, Happytime Murders fails to live up to the Henson name. Melissa McCarthy isn't enough to save this train wreck of a movie. Welcome to Pop Culture Now, and this is our review of Happytime Murders.
God, are you alright?
This horrible reimagination of the Muppets franchise begins with the puppet Philip and a society run by humans and puppets. However, their society is split in half by hints of racism. Philip is an ex-cop, now PI, who catches himself caught up in a murder investigation that brings him and his old partner back together. They, of course, must team up to discover the truth of the string of murders that begins to terrorize a cast of an old TV show. They go on to track down the old crew in a very uncomedic and raunchy fashion. This is all wrapped up in a very poor attempt at a plot twist that did not land and was expectantly covered up by very immature sexual jokes. A very anticlimactic ending that had zero effect on me.
For a cast movie that's mainly puppets, the human characters should be able to act off them and be better overall. But in this movie, the human characters are just as bad as the puppets. The actors that stood out the most in this movie was Melissa McCarthy, Elizabeth Banks, Maya Rudolph, and Leslie David Baker. And the best one out of that cast was Leslie David Baker, who plays Stanley on The Office. Unlike our last review, where the Office actor was one of my least favorite parts of the movie, this time it's one of my favorite parts because he actually held up the few lines he was given, which were funny because they weren't vulgar sex jokes. The other actors, Melissa McCarthy and Maya Rudolph, to be more specific, were honestly lackluster in this movie because they've both been really good comedians in the past and honestly at the stage where they could be veteran comedians. But in this movie, the jokes weren't good, and for Melissa McCarthy to be a producer on this movie, you would think she'd have a little bit more dignity about her comedy, but this movie just fails to deliver and is honestly her worst movie to date. And Elizabeth Banks, who I've seen in other stuff, which is so much better than this, is honestly, in my opinion, would be an embarrassment to be even in this movie. The rest of the cast is forgettable and doesn't matter, really, and don't leave a lasting impact. Overall, this movie is forgettable and targeted to an audience that isn't old enough to even get into it. The jokes are just vulgar and just not funny. There was 2 jokes in this movie that actually made me laugh, and those 2 jokes were not vulgar and actually funny compared to the rest of the entire movie, which honestly was a chore to get through around the end of the movie. Anyway, Colby, what are your thoughts?
Honestly, if I had just one word for this movie, it would just be nasty. Like, I don't always agree with Rotten Tomatoes, but when it comes to this movie, it's pretty accurate with a 27% score. And honestly, the best part of this movie was the trailer for the upcoming movie Bad Times at the El Royale. And besides that, it was just a train wreck.
We give this movie 2 thumbs down.
And I honestly couldn't agree more.
Baby!
The Happytime Murders.
That was our review of the Happytime Murders. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also check out our Twitter with the link in the description below. As for now, Pop Culture Now, signing out.